Hello, hello. I am really excited to be here and I'm tuning in today because I felt like it's really time for me to share the mission and really the origin story of this radiant woman. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Audra Coons, and I am a wellness mentor, self mastery mentor for women. And I've been a holistic therapist for women for the last 10 years, and now the founder of This Radiant Woman. And really, the mission and philosophy around This Radiant Woman is to help us allow us to lead ourselves out of survival based success and into success that is really fully integrated for all parts of ourselves and from a space that is coherent, that allows us to tune into what I often refer to as the underdeveloped or under-exercised abilities that we have as a human and as a woman. And right, we have really all of us, and while I'm specifically speaking to women, we have really been trained and conditioned to um, really to uh, utilize the parts of ourselves that are really about performance and productivity and always doing something. And that's really where our success, um, probably up to this point, our success has gotten us where we are from utilizing that. Where what I recognize for myself and for the women that I am really here calling out to and want to work with and am here to serve is that we have outgrown that way. And so we've recognized that that is really coming from a place of survival, and we've also likely reached a place that that is no longer working for us. And so right, that may be coming in a form of burnout, um, uh, really like health concerns, not feeling alive in our life. We've reached a point that we've had hormonal concerns, or right, there's a whole plethora of things that may have led you to notice that the way you've been operating isn't really serving you and isn't working anymore, right? And it's not utilizing all parts of ourselves. And so, really, the mission and the pathway of this radiant woman is allowing ourselves to develop the under exercised abilities that we have, which is really our innate um, their innate abilities, innate intelligence that our system has, and we're just not utilizing or accessing them because we've been operating in this survival manner. And so um, that part of ourselves that really needs developed is the part of ourselves that can be present and is really attuned with ourselves, right? And this is important for everyone, but a this is such a crucial and foundational part of us as a woman. And so without that, right, we often feel depleted, or we're just like running on empty, and we actually like our light goes out. So we're not um, we're not, it doesn't feel enjoyable within our own self. And we oft like we're not really lighting up for the people around us either. And that's where, right, the name This Radiant Woman came in, because it's really about um, bringing that radiance back, but like, right, allowing that to come from within and then be able to radiate out. And it's not something that's a surface level or just about, right, how we look on the outside, or like all of that comes naturally from the work that we're doing internally. And then it gets to radiate out. So we're enjoying that and feeling that within ourselves. And then we're bringing that light to all the spaces that we show up, right? And so, really, then we're able to lead, love, create, have that impact from that space rather than it coming from a survival space. And so, that is really really kind of a little explanation that I wanted to share with you about the mission and really the philosophy behind this radiant woman, and really wanting to share a little bit more about the origin story with you, which comes from my own experience. And so obviously I'm bringing in the expertise that I have from my education, my clinical background as a practitioner, as well as like all the personal development and things that I've done, but it doesn't stop there. And I know some of you, right, you have that part and you're still operating in survival. And so the other piece of that is really my own personal experience and journey in my own life. And then, right, being able to really embody a different way of being, and bringing that together. Right. And so to share a little bit more about my origin story, right? And so I realized that I had outgrown the way that I was operating. I had outgrown the um, being able to work from that survival, creating success in my life from that survival state. Because right, it started showing up externally, right, and also within myself. And so I found myself at a point in life that I had created a lot of success and happiness, but then I started hitting this wall. And so let me tell you a little bit about what that actually looked like. And so at this point in my life, I was happily married. We had purchased and owned, been living in our home, even a home that we had renovated. Uh, my I was at that point had moved into working in a private practice clinical setting, so really offering therapy and personal growth to specifically to women, and also my husband had created and was really excelling in building an amazing business and community within his field, and right, all really like great things. And while that's why I say outgrown that, in that I didn't know how to not only handle, right, like that I could have that much goodness in my life, but also how to really navigate that. And that's where, you know, we often are taught, like we've heard, there's a lot of in this space, there's a lot of people talking about reaching our capacity. Um, People in the past have referred this, referred to as like reaching our ceiling, right? This is other ways of saying that, and really a more kind of developed way of saying that is like you have outgrown that and realize that what you've created was from a certain level of survival, and to get to the next step there has to be that other piece that comes in. And so this started showing up for me as um, right, even noticing that my health was not I had real as someone who's always been athletic. I was an athlete in high school, always been active. Um, that was something, one of the things that had fallen by the wayside. And I had always had an awareness of um, really not wanting to, right, from seeing other people. Like, I didn't want life to catch up with me where it was like, oh, you're just going through the motions and living life. And even with that awareness, it happened to me, right? Because um, I yeah, and other things that had happened. I was in a car accident, and that contributed to like a halt in some of the activity and exercise that had always been such a high value for me, and not knowing how to um, go back into that after having injury, having some chronic pain and like tension within my body, and even other things that were happening, right? We had the, um, other life stressors of caring for, uh, aging parents. And so we went through a whole process caring for my husband's mother and all of these things, right, that we go through as adults and adult women, where if we're not attuned with ourselves and we haven't cleared out some of these survival patterns, it can really look like a disaster, right? And it can be it can also be where we're not able to show up and offer the wisdom, the space, the presence that we can bring to things, um, the nourishment. Right, there's a lot of terms I could speak to, but these are the underdeveloped, um, under exercised qualities that really, if we're in a high survival state, we're not able to access. And so I found myself in this space, um, also really navigating wanting to become more attuned with my body and get myself off of birth control because I'd been on synthetic birth control for a long time. And I knew deep down that I really wanted to make that transition. And so I know I've shared a lot of different um, things that were going on, but you may relate to one, some of them, or all of them. But throughout all of those experiences, right, I really became disconnected from myself and again hit that wall where I had outgrown knowing how to navigate those things in a manner that allowed me to really create sustainable change and to really feel alive again in my life. And um, so while a lot of those things were really challenging, as well as like only being able to build my business to a certain degree. And so at this point, right, I had some success within my practice. I could see change that I would create for other women. At that time, I focused a lot on relationship with food and body and recovering from disordered eating patterns, people pleasing, the perfectionism that can come up, all of those things. And I had um, been able to walk myself through that journey to a point, and I was seeing the success that I was helping other women create in their lives, yet I wasn't able to get beyond that. And so, um, again, none of these things were sustainable because I would, um, even though I was able to create some of that change, right, there's still something, that wasn't supportive of me, right? I wasn't able to. Um, Manage, but right, navigate all those different areas of my life without one of them falling off, right? And that's where I, right, from really going through intense hormonal, um, let's just say really difficult cycles and having really raging PMS to right, this chronic pain that I was experiencing from the injuries from my car accident, right, and that started bleeding over into not being able to expand further in my business or creating conflicts and difficulty in my marriage and like right, so all of these things were happening and I reached a point of like, okay, this is not working. And I had to go on this journey to rebuild myself from the inside out to restore my health. Right. And at this point, right. So from working with really figuring out for me what it was that I needed to do and believing and committing to that, allowing myself to rebuild my health, to alleviate the pain and the tension in my body that I was experiencing from the injury, right? To um, being attuned with my cycle and alleviating any PMS without being on medications or synthetic, options. Rebuilding my lifestyle to the habits that I would, engaged in from what I'm eating, what I'm putting in my body, all of those things that were creating a heightened state of arousal, right? This is the chronic, people refer to the fight or flight state, but really what this means, right? Those survival patterns that leave us in a dysregulated state, but right, this chronic state of doing, and that can come from so many areas. But when we're in this chronic state of doing, producing, pushing ourselves, that only works up to a point. And for anyone, right? Where for women, like that's where we see all of, it collapsing, the things within us, whether it's our health, like any of the areas that I mentioned. And right until life kind of stops you and says like, whoa, you've got to figure out a different way. And I noticed that I will have a lot of women coming to me that had reached this point, and their main thing is like, I don't know how to do it another way. And that how is the doing part, right? And so we're still like, we're trying to create the next thing from the thing that we know. Where in what we really need to be able to do is have the other part of ourselves develop, right? Which is the attunement to our body, the information that we're getting from that awareness, not from a space, because a lot of the self awareness that women, especially like high performing, high achieving women, they often are like, I'm so self aware, but they're using that from this space of, right, survival. So it's more of like scanning and then adapting or changing ourselves based on what we're picking up on, versus being able to use that to be really attuned with what our internal experience is, and then tending to that and how we need to, and then moving from there. And so when we're able to really exercise like that muscle more and really develop that within ourselves, then we can move to integrating, because we do need to be able to take action and um, right, get things done, produce things, all of that, but we want it to be coming from this more integrated place, and where we're using the guidance that we're getting from our internal landscape, and using that to make aligned decisions, actions, and really creating from that place. And so what that's really the journey that I have been on for really the past, let's say, 5 years, deeply in that rebuilding and transformation of myself internally. And so then that can start showing itself externally, and I can be making these decisions and taking the action to create things in my life from that space, which is right where there's so much more peace and presence, and it feels more harmonious than rather the pushing, the grinding, and just trying to create results from that space, because it honestly, like I said, it quit working anyway. And it adds to the frustration. It adds to the problems that you're already experiencing. And so that is really that's really the work that I do for myself. And that's the work that I'm bringing to you through this Radiant Woman. And so that is a space that's right. And I'm embodying that deeper and deeper as I continue on my journey, where this allows, um, right, this Radiant Woman was a space that can create sustained vitality, sustained success, so that um, it wasn't just creating, impact for other people, but it's at my own expense, or pushing and pushing to have this success, but you don't feel alive inside, right? And you feel depleted each day. And I think, if this message resonates with you, then I am, I'm right here with you. And I think that's the answers that I've found for myself. And that's what I'm here bringing to you, because no matter what industry you're in, this happens. And I also see, as far as being able to have that reciprocity, right? So you're contributing to the work that you're doing, or your family, or your all the different roles that we play as women, and you're filling yourself up. So it's really reciprocal. And why I wanted to move from, I felt called to move into this role more of creating the mission for this radiant woman and stepping into more of a space where I'm here to mentor you and coach you, rather than specifically only in the therapy space, is because that allows me to more genuinely share my personal experience and embodiment and merge that with the expertise and the presence that I'm going to bring for you to allow you that space, right? And it's not about telling you what to do, it's about helping you cultivate that from within so that you have the guidance and you're working from an operating system that's regulated and really again harmonious, it's coherent. And so then we can move forward creating success in our lives, from that space. And while we're at it, right, being feeling alive and bringing that light and that radiance to everything that we're touching, because that's really what it's about, right? That's for life. Like we want to enjoy ourselves and we want to be bringing that energy and that into what we're doing because that uplifts other people, that inspires and gives light for other people rather than, right, we're coming in, we don't have much to offer and we're trying to create impact or love on other people from a place that doesn't feel full of love within. So, um, you know, coming back, I guess, let's see if there's anything else around my story. Right. It's a work in progress. So I'm continuing to navigate the challenges that are, um, that need, my tending to so that I can continue to be this radiant woman and create that external success and reality, seeing the results that I want to have in my life in all the areas. And I know, um, me stepping in to be able to share this with more women and continuing to help them develop that in their own lives is the pathway for me to do that because I really have transformed my health. I've transformed the way that I approach myself and my life, feeling so much more attuned and current. And from, right, when we're not tending to those things, it adds up and it creates what I call an emotional backlog in our system, right? So we have, all these things that we're carrying around, and a lot of that needs cleared out to help us really integrate and move from this different space, feeling attuned and ultimately allowing us to access more of our vitality and radiance and also our innate wisdom, intelligence that we all have access to when we're not only operating from this survival state. So that's what we are here doing. That's what I am here to bring to you. So if this mission and my experience resonates with you, I would love to hear from you. Feel free to drop me a comment. You can also reach out via message and I'll be sharing other ways. Today I really wanted to focus on the mission and the origin story of this radiant woman. And just dropping that for you here, knowing there are different ways to work with me, but I will be bringing more of that to you from really because this is about leading yourself first. And that's really one of the offers and a place that you can start working with me and coming into this space and this work for yourself is through lead yourself first. And so I will continue to be dropping that information and adding that information into the links that you'll find here, where I really just wanted to share the mission and the origin story for this radiant woman. So um, I'm so happy to have you here tuned in. And if you're a woman that this is speaking to you and you're on this path as well, I would love to have you come into my space. I would love the opportunity to work with you and walk with you alongside your journey, as you really remember, um, more of who you are, remember the radiance that we have within, and integrate that into the life that we are living and building. So, thank you so much for tuning in.